Hey there, language warriors! Welcome back to the channel, where we break down language barriers and turn your struggles into strengths. Whether you're learning English for the first time, trying to perfect your fluency, or just curious about why native speakers sound like they're speaking a completely different language, this video is for you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a conversation with a native English speaker and thought, "Wait, what did they just say?" You've studied grammar, memorized vocabulary, and even aced your English exams, but when it comes to real-life conversations, it feels like you're listening to gibberish. Sound familiar? Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common frustrations for English learners around the world. But here's the good news. It's not your fault. And today, we're going to dive deep into why this happens and, more importantly, how you can fix it. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand why native English speakers are so hard to understand, but you'll also walk away with actionable tips to level up your listening skills and finally feel confident in any conversation. So, grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's get started. Because today, we're unlocking the secrets to understanding native English speakers, and trust me, it's going to change the way you listen forever. All right, let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why is it so hard to understand native English speakers? I mean, you've put in the work, you've studied the textbooks, practiced your pronunciation, and maybe even watched a ton of English movies. But when it comes to real-life conversations, it's like native speakers are speaking a whole new language. What's going on here? Well, the truth is, native English speakers don't speak the way textbooks teach. They don't speak the way your English teacher speaks, and they definitely don't speak the way you hear in most language learning apps. Native speakers use something called natural spoken English, and it's filled with quirks, shortcuts, and nuances that can throw even the most advanced learners off track. Let's break it down. Here are the top reasons why native English speakers are so hard to understand. First things first, native speakers talk fast, like really fast. And when you're used to hearing slow, clear, and carefully enunciated English in your lessons, this can feel overwhelming. But here's the thing. It's not just about speed. It's about how native speakers compress their words and sentences to save time. They don't say, "I am going to the store." They say, "I'm going to go to the store." See the difference? That's natural spoken English. And it's a whole new ballgame. Connected speech is when words blend together in a sentence, making it sound like one long word instead of separate ones. For example, "What do you want to do?" becomes "What do you want to do?" Or "I have got to go" becomes "I've gotta go." Native speakers do this all the time, and if you're not familiar with these patterns, it can sound like a jumble of sounds instead of actual words. Native speakers don't just use textbook vocabulary. They sprinkle their conversations with slang, idioms, and cultural references that you won't find in any dictionary. For example, if someone says, "That meeting was a total snooze fest," they're not talking about sleeping. They're saying the meeting was boring. Or if someone says, "I'm feeling under the weather," they're not talking about the weather. They're saying they're sick. These expressions are everywhere in natural English, and if you don't know them, it's easy to get lost. English is a global language, and that means there are countless accents and dialects to navigate. A native speaker from the UK sounds completely different from one in the US, Australia, or South Africa. Even within the same country, accents can vary wildly. For example, someone from New York sounds nothing like someone from Texas. And if you're not used to these variations, it can feel like you're hearing a completely different language. Here's a little secret. Native speakers don't always speak perfectly. They make mistakes. They mumble, they trail off, and they use filler words like and like all the time. And guess what? That's completely normal. But if you're used to hearing polished, textbook-perfect English, these imperfections can make it even harder to follow along. Now that we've identified the problem, let's talk about the solution. Because here's the truth. Understanding native English speakers isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about training your ears to recognize the patterns, rhythms, and shortcuts of natural spoken English. And the best part? You don't need to move to an English-speaking country or spend hours in a classroom to do it. You can start right where you are, with the resources you already have. Here are my top tips to help you understand native English speakers like a pro. If you want to understand native speakers, you need to listen to how they actually speak. That means ditching the textbooks and immersing yourself in real-life English. Watch movies, TV shows, and YouTube videos in English. Listen to podcasts, radio shows, and interviews. Pay attention to how people speak in everyday situations, how they use slang, how they connect their words, and how they express themselves. The more you expose yourself to natural English, the easier it will become to understand. Active listening is all about focusing on what you're hearing and trying to understand the meaning behind the words. Instead of just passively listening, challenge yourself to pick out key phrases, identify slang or idioms, and notice how words are connected. You can even try transcribing short clips of audio to see how well you understand what's being said. This might feel difficult at first, but with practice, your listening skills will improve dramatically. Connected speech might sound confusing at first, but it actually follows predictable patterns. For example, native speakers often drop the G at the end of words ending in ing, like goin' instead of going. They also use contractions, like gonna instead of going to, and link words together, like wanna instead of want to. By learning these patterns, you'll start to recognize them in real conversations and understand native speakers more easily. If you want to keep up with native speakers, you need to go beyond textbook vocabulary. Start learning common slang, idioms, and expressions that native speakers use every day. For example, instead of just learning the word angry, learn expressions like pissed off, fed up, or losing it. These might not be in your textbook, but they're everywhere in real-life conversations. There's no substitute for real-life practice. If you have the opportunity to talk with native speakers, take it. Don't be afraid to ask them to slow down or explain something you don't understand. Most people are happy to help, and the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become with natural spoken English. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Learning to understand native English speakers is a journey, not a destination. It's going to take time, effort, and patience. But here's the thing. Every time you struggle to understand someone, you're not failing. You're learning. Every conversation, every movie, every podcast is an opportunity to improve your skills and get one step closer to fluency. So, don't get discouraged if it feels hard at first. Remember, even native speakers had to learn this language at some point. And if they can do it, so can you. The key is to stay curious, stay consistent, and keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Because that's where the magic happens. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about why native English speakers are so hard to understand and how you can overcome it. Remember, language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about progress, not perfection. So, celebrate every small win, learn from every mistake, and keep moving forward. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who's on their English learning journey. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Because here on this channel, we're all about turning your language struggles into success stories. Thanks for watching, And remember, you've got this. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy learning.